If you're making over $80,000 a year and you still feel broke, then this video's for you. We're going to break down the 5 hidden reasons why that's happening and help you fix it. Welcome to the Wealth Twins channel. Let's jump into it. Nicole, why do you think one of the reasons why people feel broke when they're making over $80,000 a year?
I mean, the first reason that comes to my mind is the more you make, the more they take, right? Uncle Sam wants a piece of that paycheck that you're getting.
True.
So it's always been the case that high earners get taxed the most. And that's just a reality. Now, the way to actually combat that is to learn what the wealthy do. They do the tax strategies, they find ways to invest, and they find ways to keep more of their paycheck. So if you want to keep more of your paycheck and you're tired of giving so much to the government, which I know I am, then you have to learn a new way of doing things and do like the rich do so they can create some type of shelters, create a way to make sure that more of their money stays with them so they can continue to build on it rather than giving it away to the tax man.
When you look at history, the wealthiest people in America are being taxed less. Even if you look at this one big, beautiful bill that just went through, that's what's happening. Then you look at the bottom percent of people who are earning money in America, you can't tax them as much. So what do you think that tax money is going to come from? It's going to come from the middle class and the upper middle class. And you will be punished by the government. So you have to make sure you're doing what you can to lower your tax obligation or put that money to use so that it can work for you in the future. You're going to have to do this and learn it now rather than later.
Totally agree with you. When it comes to this, yes, the tax man is going out for the middle class and the upper middle class. And we know we need ways to actually keep more of our money. What other reason could it be that even if you make good money, you might still feel broke outside of the tax man?
Well, I would say another reason you might feel broke outside of the tax man and you just feel like you're not making enough or have enough money is because you might be being too nice and being a family bank to everyone in your family or your friends. Now, if you're making over 80,000, if you look at the percentages, that is pretty high and you're considered wealthy in a lot of things, especially if you're making over 175,000, right? Many people are not making that amount of money. So they may come to you for financial advice and they may come to you for money, right? And you're going to be nice enough and loan that money out. Maybe you say, you know what, I'm in a more fortunate position. I'm going to be able to help my family. But at one point, that has to stop because now that money is not helping you. And at one point, you're going to understand that you cannot pour from an empty cup. You have to keep enough money on your side in order to grow for you so that you know that when people need money in the future, you're able to do that without sacrificing yourself. Okay. Now, it might sound mean, but at the end of the day, if you keep more money in your pocket, you can actually help more people.
Yeah, I mean, I like to call us maybe like pioneer's guilt because a lot of times many of us are the first in our family to actually be in a different economic class or make that much money. And we feel that the best thing we can do is actually turn around right away and give without hesitation to our family because we don't want to seem selfish. We don't want to seem like we're being greedy. But really, what ends up happening, based on my experience, is that one, you might get taken advantage of a lot of times, and then you start feeling resentful for actually helping out people that you care about, right? And then two, you actually start enabling people. Rather than give someone advice to help them out, you give them money. That is an easy way out, and it's actually not going to solve the problem in the long run. So at the end of the day, when you do something like that, you might actually be hurting the people you care about more. Now, when it comes to what you can do about this, one thing you can do, and I know Nadia hates when I say this, is actually learn to say the word no, right? No might be hard, but actually it's the first word most of us learn as children. And you know, children will hit you with the word no real quick. But it's one of the last words we use when we're an adult because we feel like we're going to hurt someone's feelings. But again, based on my experience, I would tell you, I've met people in my life and also I've seen how they have combat this and how people react to them when they say no. And guess what? People are okay with you telling them no. What they're not okay with is you being around the bush about it and being, wishy-washy. But when you tell someone no and you tell them reasons why, they're more able to accept that and they respect you for it. And they still care about you at the end of the day as well.
Yeah, and if you don't know how to say the word no or you're not comfortable, just start setting some financial boundaries, right? I started doing this by saying, you know what, I'm going to only help one or two people. Whoever come to me first, they're the ones that are going to get help. And then everyone else, they're going to have to find another resource. But it works in the end, and then everybody respects you, and it actually helps other people out. Okay. So, Nicole, what's another hidden reason why people may feel broke, even though they're making a good amount of money.
Well, I think another reason is because we weren't taught to actually build wealth. Most of us, I would say, right?
Hmm.
We were taught to work hard, make good money, and then save that money, cut expenses, and just keep working hard for the money. It's good advice, but it's only good advice up to a point. If you don't know how to use that money to work harder for you, you're going to run into problems, especially now with inflation and tariffs maybe coming. When you don't know the next step that comes after saving and budgeting and working hard, it becomes difficult and you start seeing those effects.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I say most of the time we're taught to earn money and protect it, right? We were not taught how to multiply it and have it grow for you, right? You need a new playbook. Once you start making a lot of money and you know how to save, you know how to budget, you have to know what else to do in order for that money to start growing for you. And you can't use the old tactics that you were using before you were taught in order to play a new game. You have to learn how not only play defense, you want to start playing offense. The defense is let me get the money I have now and see the best thing I can do with it. But you also have to play offense. How can I invest that money? How can I make it grow for me? How can I buy assets that can start paying me money on a monthly basis? This is what you have to start doing.
It's not because you're not smart. It's because you didn't know. It's an exposure problem, right?
I agree.
It's not a I'm a silly rabbit problem, right? It's an exposure problem. So watching our channel and channels like this to actually open up your exposure and learn those things because we weren't taught that, that's the way that you can actually combat that and get out of that feeling. So with that, Nadi, what's the fourth reason why?
I think I don't know, I might get a little hate on this, but I think when I look at it, I see a lot of people it's kind of like parent guilt, right? I know a lot of parents want to give their children what they didn't have growing up. And I see this especially when it comes to children's activities, okay? I see a lot of people spending money traveling for football, traveling for soccer, doing gymnastics. And you're giving a lot of money to these activities and you're traveling. It just exponentially raises the cost. But at the end of the day, what is the probability of your child becoming a professional gymnast or a professional football player, a professional soccer player? It's very low, right? But you're using all that money now because you feel like, oh, I didn't get this when I was growing up. So this is what I'm going to try to give my child to make them feel like I love them and everything. But that is putting you in financial stress. And a lot of times that's putting you in financial debt. Okay. Now, I know that might sound wrong, but what do you think, Nicole?
I would say first off, you don't know my little Billy and Bobby. They're gonna be professionals, okay? And
Okay.
it's an investment. But no, I think it's a good point. The guilt that you feel like I want to give my kids everything I didn't have, but you don't have to give them everything. They're gonna be all right as long as you're raising them in a loving environment and you're instilling some great values in them, okay? But I think a lot of parents also don't understand the hidden costs. You might get the figure right away about the activity you're putting your kids in, right? You're paying for gymnastics. Maybe that's $300 a month. And you know you have to buy the clothes and stuff like that. But the hidden costs, especially when it's traveling teams, when you find out the date of that tournament, right? And you have to pay for the hotel, the gas, the food, all those things start adding up. And it becomes something that you weren't preparing for. And those things start taking more of your paycheck than you actually anticipated. And I think that's why you might feel this way because you didn't anticipate those costs, but those costs are coming and they're taking more out of your paycheck than you actually thought would be taken out of your paycheck. So I can definitely see that. So one way to combat that is maybe pick one or two that you feel gives your kid the most bang for the buck and also that can benefit them later on in the future.
I agree, especially if you are taking that money away from putting it into your retirement accounts or putting in your brokerage accounts and investing that money for you so that you can have a more comfortable retirement. But right now, you're spending that money on activities. I would urge you to reconsider that decision because you are much better to your kids if you're able to take care of yourself at an older age than having to rely on them because you didn't put the money aside to plan for that.
Now, I want to get into probably the last one we're going to talk about today. The reasons why you might be feeling the way you are feeling now is because lifestyle creep and just the expectations and the life pressure is real. To lifestyle pressure is real. Okay? And it's a constant pressure. Maybe one of the reasons your kids are in so many activities because your neighbor's kids and your friends' kids are all in these activities and you feel you have to do the same thing or else your kid might feel a certain way. That's a real pressure and it's something no parent really wants to be put in, right? Maybe you decided, okay, I have this education and people expecting me with this education in this job. I have to have a certain type of car. I have to have a certain type of house. I have to live in a certain neighborhood. Those pressures are real, but they also come with the price tag that also makes it more difficult for you to keep the money that you have so that you can feel secure in your situation.
Now, I would agree. I think with just adding into that social media, and people think that, okay, in order to show that I'm successful, I have to have this type of vacation. I have to drive this type of car. That is adding a lot of pressure to you. And we did videos on this before. You don't know where a lot of people are getting their money from, right? You don't know if they have their parents helping them out even though when they're adults. You don't know if their parents are giving them some kind of stipend every month to help that lifestyle. You don't know if they're doing side hustles at night that you may not be aware of to pay for that stuff. What you need to do is start aligning your financial goals with the money you make and making sure, okay, can we handle this? Is what I want right now, is that aligned with what I want in the future? Because if you don't do this, you will always feel like you're missing out on something, and you're always trying to keep up with people. And at the end of the day, those expenses can start eating you alive and putting you in such financial stress that you're going to feel broke, even though you have the means to not be in that predicament.
Yep. It's all about aligning your values with your money and being intentional with your money. It's a
Mm-hmm.
great way to take some pressure off of that lifestyle pressure that we're all receiving. Okay. No one's immune to it, but you could lessen it. You know, Nadi, at the end of the day, this, I believe, is a totally fixable situation. So if it's anyone that's watching this video and they're tired of feeling like this, and you want to actually have something to show for the amount of money you make, then I invite you to join our Wealth Pack newsletter, because in there we're going to teach you money making tips and investing tips and just ways that you can get around this situation and actually start seeing something for the amount of money you make. So if that's something you're interested in, then I suggest you click the link below in the description and join our newsletter.
Yeah, and guys, I have an ask for you. We looked at our analytics, and it seems that over 60% of people who watch our videos are not subscribed to this channel. So if you can do us a favor, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss our videos and support us like that way. It's free and it means a lot to us, okay? And until then, we'll see you guys in the next video.